The first time I died on the job, it was on paper. Strata kept a list for every deep specialist, projected heat exposure, cumulative stress, debt against hazard pay. At the bottom, in small print, one line waited for a date. They called it a closure estimate. The guys downstairs called it what it was, death line. If you work Inferno long enough, you learn not to look at that line. You just watch the numbers move in your favor for a while, then against you, then you sign another contract because the money is good and the surface jobs are worse. My name is Jack Harper. Down here, I am the thermal recovery specialist. If something valuable ends up in the red zone, they put me in the suit and push the elevator button. Most days that means dragging back an automated drill head before it melts. Some days it means bringing up what is left of a man who trusted his own cooling system too much. Tonight it is a drill head. I tell myself that as the cage drops. The cage is a steel box, big enough for gear, a man, and the harness that keeps him from bouncing. It runs on rails down the main shaft of Inferno, straight through kilometers of rock Strata has carved into money. At the top, they load you in with jokes. At the bottom, no one jokes. My suit hangs around me like a second, heavier body. The exoskeleton carries most of its weight, powered joints taking the strain off my tendons. Between me and the outer armor, pipes run with liquid nitrogen. That is my life support. The suit is a walking freezer wrapped in heat shield, built so a human can step into places hot enough to warp steel. Through the visor, I watch level indicators slide past on the cage wall. All words, no digits. Strata likes old, simple gauges. I think it is because numbers that turn fast look honest, and that helps men keep working. Comms check. Jonah's voice comes through my helmet. Jonah Pike runs control on this shift. He is the one who watches my suit telemetry and decides whether I come up or stay down when things shake. I am here, I answer. Cold, grumpy, eager to visit hell. That is the spirit. I can hear gum crack between his teeth. Red zone dash only. Drill head on gallery beta 9. You are in and out. Beaumont is watching the feed, so try not to fall on your face. Director Beaumont can watch a recording. I mutter. Jonah does not argue. Beaumont is Strata's man on site. I have met plenty of company officers, but Beaumont is something else. Calm, economical, of the kind that can order men into danger with the same tone he uses to order lunch. The cage slows, then kisses the lowest landing like a fist in a glove. My harness jerks. A green light comes on over the inner door. The outer shaft seals. The inner gate opens. Heat waits beyond it, but not the worst of it yet. Red zone is deeper. I move off the cage onto the steel mesh floor, boots biting through their own weight and the suits. Men in lighter gear move around me, their coveralls stained, eyes bright from stimulant packs. One of them, a kid named Luca, who keeps the suit maintenance logs, falls into step. Feed is clean, he tells me, tapping the cable that runs from my back to the cage. You are good to the boundary. Past that, you go on to suit reserves. How jammed is it? Auto drill head sank into the face and refused to come out. We backed it off, but the carriage is stuck. You will see. Any rockfall? Some scaling. Omar thinks the strata shifted when the bit hit the cavity. Omar is the geophysicist who watches stress models. He is nervous by nature, and doubly nervous when he says words like shifted. Cavity, I repeat. You opened up a pocket. Something like that. Luca hesitates. You will see, he repeats, then steps back, suddenly eager to be elsewhere. That is the thing about this job. No one wants to say anything that might make a man in the suit think twice. You do not pile worries on the one who has to walk into them. I stomp along the gallery, following guide rails sunk into the floor. Overhead, rock arches held up by thick steel ribs. Electric conduits line the walls. The deeper you go, the more the mine looks built rather than carved. Years of reinforcement do that, layer on layer of human habit and fear. At a painted stripe across the floor, I stop. Red zone boundary. Beyond this point, temperatures climb fast enough that unprotected men last seconds, maybe less. The cable from the cage ends here, plugged into a junction that feeds power and data down narrow armored umbilicals to my suit. Beyond the stripe, I walk on my own reserves. Boundary, I report. Control confirms. Heat at outer limit for suit tolerance plus a safety margin. Your window is 20 minutes, Jack. That is 15 in, 5 out. Log started. Begin red zone entry. I step over the stripe. Heat is not a sensation for me anymore. It is a number on my visor, a rate of nitrogen boil in my ears, a time limit that clicks down. The inner pipes carry that energy away. If they fail, I cook like whatever I am walking over. The tunnel floor changes. Rock darkens where it has undergone more stress. Patches of glass mark past intrusions of magma or flash heating from drilling. Bits of fused metal stud the walls, the ghosts of tools and supports that once could not take the strain. The suit feet grip, assisted by small magnetic pads that latch onto the rails. I move forward in long, heavy steps, every motion assisted by servos that whine in my bones. The drill head sits ahead, halfway buried in the face. Auto rigs are long, insect-like machines designed to chew rock without human hands nearby. This one has rammed its bit into the end of the gallery and refused to back off. Its legs are splayed, their pistons frozen mid-stroke. Visual, I transmit. Your auto rig looks thirsty. Quit sweet talking the company hardware, Jonah answers. We just bought that one. The bit is in something softer, I report. Rock around the face looks fractured. Luca, get Omar on this, Jonah mutters in my ear, probably forgetting his mic is open to me. We are not supposed to have anything soft at this depth. I move to the drill's side. The suit's shoulder hits one leg, nudging it. It does not move. The heat down here has warped its joints. That makes my job simpler. I do not have to finesse the machine, I just have to break it loose. Going to cut the bit free, stand by. On my right forearm, a tool unfolds, a clamp with hardened teeth and a short stroke jack behind it. It is essentially a portable vise powered by the suit. I lock it around the drill string just behind the bit, brace the suit, and trigger the jack. Metal groans. The bit shifts. The drill housing scrapes along its mount. The rock in front of me cracks. At this depth, rock should be hungry to close, not eager to open. Still, a crack zigzags across the face like a line drawn by a child. Behind it, something pale gleams. Jonah, the face is opening, you get that? We see it. Keep clear of any falling rock. The crack widens. A wedge of broken stone drops away, bouncing off the drill housing and my suit's shin. The impact jars me. Beyond the broken stone, instead of more rock, lies a smooth curve. At first glance, I think glass. We have hit a giant pocket lined with mineral. I step closer, the suit's lights angling in. The surface inside the cavity is not glass. Glass fractures. This surface is continuous. It curves inward like the inside of a bowl, unblemished except for faint striations that spiral toward a central point somewhere deeper than my light can reach. The color is not quite white, more like very old bone that has never seen the sun. I'm seeing something strange in the cavity, I report. Surface looks manufactured. Repeat. It is smooth, layered, not rock, not crystal. Could be old lining from a test shaft, Jonah offers, but his voice has a hitch. No markings, I answer. No bolts, no seams. My glove meets the edge of the cavity. The suit sensors register contact. I feel nothing, just the stiffness of the exoskeleton. For a second, nothing changes. Then the layered material draws inward around my hand. The movement is small, half an inch at most, but it happens everywhere around the rim at once. The surface tightens, then relaxes in a slow cycle. Contact response, I report, sharper now. The material moved. Jack, back off, Jonah barks. The drill bit, still buried in that smooth surface, jerks forward as if something inside has tried to spit it out. The auto rig lurches with it. The entire gallery shudders. Dust pours from the ceiling. The floor shifts under my boots. I clamp onto the drill body, hanging on as the tunnel bucks. Rock chips rain onto my helmet. A cracking sound runs through the walls, less sound than a sequence of impacts. Somewhere behind me, a support beam groans. Seismic event, control announces, too calm. Magnitude low, local only. Repeat, local. Jack, status. Still here. I brace my feet, fight the sway. The cavity reacted when I touched it. The bit too. Copy, release and withdraw. Drill head is free, pulling it back. I should abandon the rig and just get out, but Strata does not pay me to run light. I punch the jack again, wrenching the drill bit sideways. The bit tears free of whatever it was in with a wet scraping sound that speaks of something softer than stone. The auto rig sags backward. I shut off its power, cut its anchors with my forearm tool, and begin to drag the whole assembly by its chassis. The floor tilts as the gallery settles. The cavity's smooth lip quivers, contracting in short pulses like a muscle working through pain. Behind that pale curve, something darker stirs, too deep for my light to catch. Jack, out, now! I do not argue. My time margin is already cut. I haul the rig toward the red zone boundary, boots grinding, servos straining. Behind me, rock creaks and a fresh crack spreads across the ceiling near the cavity. By the time I cross the painted stripe, my window is gone. Suit reserves dip into emergency buffers. The cable snakes back to meet me. Luca and another tech run forward, clipping it into the port on my back. I lean against the wall while cold from the main coolant loop floods into my armor. The automatic systems purr in my ears as they stabilize the internal temperature. Nice work, Jonah murmurs when my core readouts settle. We will review the footage topside. Systems cycle down in 20 minutes. You can give your report to Beaumont himself. Looking forward to it, I answer. I glance back down the tunnel. The jagged hole in the rock grins at me, a near-perfect circle with that pale inner lining. As the red zone lights shine on it, faint striations move across the surface, converging toward the unseen center and then relaxing again. An eye, my brain thinks. We have opened an eye. I do not say that aloud. Men down here have enough to worry about without adding that image. We move the drill rig to a side spur and chain it off. Standard procedure. Then I head for the cage. On the ride up, I replay the footage in my visor. Motion sensors outline the contraction of the cavity in clean lines. The suit's contact mic picked up something at the moment my glove touched the surface, a low vibration with a rhythm that is not quite mechanical. I mark the clip, then mark it again. By the time the cage reaches the surface control deck, I know the cavity is not rock. I am not ready for what the company has already decided it is. Control is a long room full of screens and men slumped in chairs. A wall map of the mine dominates the far side, tunnels marked in bright lines. Stress monitors sit beneath it, little graphs that twitch with each event. Jonah swivels in his chair as I step through the hatch. "You look like you met someone interesting," he calls out. "You know I cannot hear tone through this helmet," I answer, popping the latches at my neck. Luca moves in with a tool, helps me disengage the seals. Cold from the suit spills out as I lift the helmet away, like opening a freezer in a hot kitchen. "Playback," Jonah tells an analyst. "Red zone entry, Harper. Timestamp 2021. The analyst taps a control. My visor feed fills the main display. The moment the cavity opens, the room gets quiet. We watch the rock break, the pale surface appear, the way it tightens when I touch it. We watch the drill bit jerk in as if something has bitten it, then snaps away under my jack. No one talks until the clip resets. "Well," Beaumont observes from the back of the room. I had not noticed him there. The director is tall and thin, all clean lines and ironed fabric, a man always ready for a boardroom. His eyes are the only part of him that belong down here. They watch everything and give away nothing. That is interesting. "It moved," I say. "It moves with contact, and the motion lines up with the local quake. That is not rock." "Could be some form of plastic or memory alloy," one of the engineers offers. "Old facility? Abandoned test shell? If it was built to flex with stress, it has no seams," I cut in. "It feels continuous." "Fossilized structure? Another voice speculates. Some kind of ancient organic layer preserved by pressure? Beaumont lifts a hand. The room quiets. Thank you, Jack, he tells me. Your retrieval was excellent. We have something new to study, that is all. For now, this event is classified. Do not share your impressions outside this room. Men on Beta 9 saw the quake, I reply. They will talk. They can talk about shaking rock. They do not need to talk about the shape inside it. He looks toward the map. We will schedule reinforced supports in that gallery and a dedicated survey of the cavity. You will get more details if we need your suit. Director, Omar leans against a console near the stress map. His curly hair is plastered to his forehead, and his shirt clings with dried salt, like he forgot to change after a long shift. I do not like the correlation between this event and the stress I have been tracking along the lower mantle interface. Beaumont gives him a patient glance. Explain in terms Jack understands. Omar rubs his eyes with thumb and forefinger. The crust is sitting on a layer of semi-molten rock that can move. What we did today lined up with a small but sharp impulse in that layer, centered directly below us. This is not a normal quake. Something in the deep mantle reacted. So our drill touched a nerve, I suggest. Omar winces. Something like that. If that cavity is part of a larger structure, we need to know what we are poking. We will, Beaumont replies. Carefully, methodically. In the meantime, operations continue. Production has targets. Jack, your exposure is near today's limit. Off shift, sleep, food, whatever you do. We will brief you when we have a plan. He turns his attention to another set of screens. Dismissed. Jonah stretches as I move closer. Go shower, he advises. You smell. I am not the one who watched the wall bend, I point out. Watch that clip again in slow motion. The patterning on the interior surface looks coordinated. Patterned flexing, he mutters. Luca, copy the raw feed to my local drive. Already done, Luca answers. We share a look. His eyes are bright with the hunger of a man who lives for strange data. My own hunger is simpler. I want food and a bunk. I peel the suit away with Luca's help, feeling lighter with every clamp released. Underneath, my undersuit is plastered to my skin. I do not reach for any cologne. That would require a sense of smell to enjoy, and down here that sense is mostly a way to be sad. On my way to the showers, I pause at a viewport built into the rock. Beyond it, the shaft drops into dark. It is a long way down to the red zone, a longer way down to that pale, moving surface. If it is an eye, then for a brief moment today it looked back. Strata moves fast when they smell new profit. By the time my next shift starts, they have doubled the support beams around Gallery Beta 9 and carved the cavity wider. Where I saw a rough hole, there is now a clean circular opening ringed with bolted steel. A platform juts into the space, anchored with struts that reach into the rock. My job this time is not to retrieve something. It is to guide in new hardware. Leech rigs, Luca explains as we ride down in the cage. Officially, they are multi-phase extraction assemblies, but everyone upstairs calls them leeches. Drill heads designed for soft substrate integrated pumps. They think that cavity is some kind of fluid pocket. They are planning to tap it, I answer, without knowing what it is. They know enough, Luca mutters, then shuts his mouth like he has said too much. Spill it, I prod. He shakes his head. They pulled the senior team into a closed-door session. I am just a maintenance tech. I hear things, that is all. We reach the level. The cage doors open. Men swarm around pallets of gear. The leech rigs are smaller than the auto drill I dragged out, but more heavily armored. Each one ends in a bulbous head with retractable teeth and ports for fluid intake. Hoses and cables trail from their backs, coiled like guts. Jack, Beaumont calls from the platform edge. He wears the same crisp shirt even this deep, as if he expects the rock to respect his laundry. Your suit ready? Always. We have a rare opportunity. That structure is unique. Our preliminary analysis suggests it is some kind of ancient biological remnant, fossilized yet retaining internal cavities filled with high-energy fluid. Blood. Omar murmurs near him, eyes on his tablet. You mean blood? We do not use that word, Beaumont corrects, unruffled. Our models indicate that if we siphon carefully, we can drain a controlled volume without destabilizing the host structure. Surface energy markets would pay very well for such a dense source. I glance at the cavity behind him. The pale surface gleams in the tunnel lights, concave and smooth. Closer to the center, color deepens faintly, like something dark waits below a thin lens. How big is the host structure? I ask. We do not know yet, Omar answers, then tosses a sharp look at Beaumont, who nods permission. Omar takes a breath, tapping a schematic on his screen. Based on the impulse we saw and its propagation through the mantle, this is not a small thing. If I treat the cavity as an eye socket, then the rest of the body is woven through the mantle below us. It could be the size of a continent. A laugh breaks out from one of the drillers, hard and short, the kind that comes when the mind refuses to swallow the words. You are telling me there is a creature under us the size of half the planet, the driller scoffs. I am telling you there is a distributed structure in the mantle that behaves like tissue. Omar replies, the cavity we are looking at is a local outcropping. That thing flinched when we touched it, I put in. If we start drilling into it, it might do more than flinch. That is why we run controlled tests, Beaumont murmurs. Low extraction rate, constant monitoring. You understand risk, Jack. You live in it. I live in it, I agree. But I prefer it not to roll over and crush me. The leeches go in, Beaumont concludes. You will escort them, anchor them, and report any anomalies. You will not share your personal interpretations with the men. Panic helps no one. He turns away, conversation finished. So that is that. In the company's eyes, the thing in the rock is a reservoir to be tapped. Whether it is a dead organ or a living one is a secondary issue. Suit on. Cables checked. Lights on the chest glow a steady, reassuring color. I step onto the platform that leads into the cavity. Beyond the lip, the pale surface curves away below, a concave basin large enough to swallow a small ship. We have built a walkway of steel grating that extends a short distance into the hollow. Temporary support struts press into the surface, ending in wide plates. I watch those plates closely. Any tightening of the tissue around them will show up as movement. The leech rigs hang from overhead cranes, lowered in stages. Each one hums with power. I walk beside them, a chaperone in heavy armor. Watch your supports, Jonah warns through the channel. Stress monitors show baseline rising. I am watching. At my signal, the first leech extends its teeth and bites into the pale wall. The sound comes through my helmet not as teeth through stone, but as teeth through something fibrous and dense. The head rotates, opening a bore. When it reaches a preset depth, the pump engages. The hose leading back towards the tunnel flexes. Fluid starts to climb. On my visor, a window pops up with its properties. Temperature, density, energy potential. The numbers jump higher than any known hydrothermal fluid. Director, you seeing this? One of the console operators in control breathes over the common channel. I am, Beaumont replies. Maintain current rate. Do not exceed the first threshold. The second leech engages, then the third. Within minutes, a cluster of them works in a loose ring, their hoses trailing like veins, their mounts anchored in those pale layers. The surface reacts. At first, the movement is slow, like the breathing I saw before. Then the cycles shorten. The surface around each leech head tightens and relaxes faster, striations converging. Deeper within the cavity, beyond the reach of our lights, darker forms swell and contract. Stress spike, Omar warns. Mantle interface readings climbing fast. This is not local. Jack, visual check, Beaumont orders. Any structural changes? Surface is tightening around leeches, I report. We are inflaming the tissue. The basin around me trembles. The platform rings under my boots. A distant crack runs through rock that has held firm for longer than human memory. Then the entire world moves. The cavity convulses inward, a massive contraction that throws me off my feet. The leeches jerk as if something below has tried to expel them. One mount tears free, swinging on its hose like bait at the end of a line. Rock above us splits in a jagged seam. Fragments rain down, bouncing off my armor, punching dents into the platform. I grab a support strut and haul myself back to standing. "Shut down extraction!" Omar yells on the net. "Now!" "The rigs are still within safety limits," Beaumont counters, but his voice has lost some of its composure. "Lower rate. Do not shut off entirely. We need continuous data." The second convulsion is smaller but more focused. The tissue around one leech head contracts so hard that the head itself buckles. The hose whips, spraying glowing droplets that splatter against the platform and the rock. Where they land, metal hisses and discolors, and rock picks up a new, glassy sheen. A driller on the walkway screams. A fragment has caught his leg, twisting it at an angle legs should not take. Another man scrambles to pull him back. "Medical," Jonah snaps. "Get a stretcher team to Beta 9. Jack, prioritize your own stability. If that platform goes, we lose you and the rigs." My heart goes out to the rigs, I mutter, but I grit my teeth and assess. Half the supports have shifted. A few bolts have torn loose. The tissue under the platform ripples in waves that run toward the center of the basin. "Jack," Omar presses, "look toward the center." I swing my headlamp, ignoring the strain in my neck. At the far end of the cavity, deeper than our platform reaches, something rises. It is like a mound under a sheet, growing with each pulse. Strands of darker material run from it, trailing along the pale inner surface, converging with the lines I saw earlier. "It has a focus," I report. "Something like a node or I do not know, nerve bundle." "Record everything," Omar breathes. "We need all of this." We get another 20 minutes before Beaumont finally orders a temporary halt. By then, the cavity's temperature has risen beyond prediction, and the outer tunnels have suffered 3 separate collapses. One of the leech hoses has ruptured, spilling its load into a sump where emergency cooling coils groan. We pull out what we can and abandon the rest. Back in control, chaos has taken an organized form. Casualty lists, damage reports, stress maps lit up in angry color. "Beaumont, this is not sustainable," Omar argues while I stand off to the side, shedding sweat inside my undersuit. Every extraction pulse is forcing the mantle structure to shift. We are not nudging a passive reservoir. We are hurting a living system. "We can adjust our rate," Beaumont replies, smoothing his cuffs. "Longer cycles, lower flow. The energy density is too valuable to abandon." Omar stabs a finger at a graph. "You are not listening. The magnitude of the response is already increasing. This organism, or whatever it is becoming more reactive. It is building defenses." Beaumont turns away from him toward me. "Jack, your professional opinion. Is the cavity behaving more like tissue than rock?" "Yes," I answer. "It tightens, it contracts, it is growing new structures. Those dark strands, whatever they are, were not there on my first entry." "There." Beaumont spreads his hands. "We adapt. Humans always have. We have taken resources from savage environments before. This is another one. This environment can tear the planet in half," Omar shoots back. "We will not let it. We have models, controls, safety margins. The board has reviewed the risk. You are not the only man on this site with access to simulations." That lands hard. Omar falls silent, shoulders drawing in. I realize in that moment that Strata knew about this thing long before my drill bit hit its socket. The company has been watching stress anomalies, building quiet models, preparing to tap the Earth's own body like a vein. I also realize they do not intend to stop. The next week proves that. They reinstall the damaged leech, reinforce the platform, and run a second extraction cycle with modified parameters. The reaction is different, but not better. The cavity responds by thickening segments of its wall around the drill sites. The tissue there turns darker, layered more heavily, like callus forming around a wound. In one entry, I watch a new structure unfold from the inner surface near my boot. It looks like cartilage, only it grows in a tight spiral, ending in a point that twitches as if tasting the heat. When my suit foot brushes it, the point jerks away, then flicks back, striking my armor with a sharp tap. New growth, I report, stepping around it. It is forming spines. We see them, Jonah responds. Can you avoid contact? For now. The spines are not the only change. Strange, lumpen masses appear along the basin floor, sliding slowly along the surface. At first, I mistake them for tumors. Then I watch one engulf a loose support bracket, absorb it, and continue on, leaving behind clean material. Organism has a cleaning mechanism, I note. Mobile mass that removes foreign objects. Clot analogues, Omar mutters. It is forming immune responses. My next task involves one of those masses in a more direct way. During the third extraction cycle, a sensor pod we deployed at the far end of the cavity loses contact. The tether cable is intact, but data drops to zero. Probably a local heat spike, one engineer speculates. Or one of those clots ate it, Luca offers. Beaumont is not interested in guesses. Jack, go find it, he orders. We need that pod. It has our best granularity on inner structure. There is a reason we tether gear, I point out. You can drag it back. The cable feeds through a conduit. The pod itself might be wedged in a way that damages the lining if we pull blind. We need eyes on it. Eyes. Always eyes. I suit up again. This time the walk into the cavity feels different. The supports creak more often. The platform floor carries faint vibrations that do not match any machine cycle. It feels like the body under my boots has developed its own rhythm. The tether line runs along the inner surface, anchored with bolts. I follow it towards the deeper end of the basin, stepping carefully around newly grown spines. They twitch as I pass, sometimes retracting, sometimes reaching. Telemetry shows stable, Jonah advises. Your core temp is fine. Do not let the motion get inside your head. It is already inside the rock, I answer. Halfway in, I find the sensor pod. It lies against the pale wall, half enveloped by one of those mobile masses. Up close, the mass looks like thick gel threaded with fibers. It drapes over the pod, tiny movements rippling across its surface. The pod's outer casing shows signs of etching where the gel has begun to break it down. Pod is compromised, I report. The mass is eating it. Can you retrieve its core? Omar asks. The data block might still be intact. I can try. I extend the forearm clamp and lower it towards the pod. The instant my tool touches the gel, the entire mass surges toward the contact point. The fibers inside stiffen. The whole thing strikes like a slow, heavy fist. The impact hits my arm, rattling the suit. The gel splashes across my forearm and chest. It spreads fast, clinging, finding seams. Alarms flare in my visor, external temp spikes. Where the gel touches my armor, local temperature readings jump to levels beyond what the suit shell is rated to handle for long. Hostile contact, I snap. Mass has latched onto my suit. Back away, Jonah urges. Do not let it cover your joints. I jerk my arm, ripping some of it free, but strands cling, stretching. It moves against gravity, crawling along my shell toward the underarm. Magnetic clamps pop in my chest plate as the suit's outer layers expand to deal with the sudden heat. My options shrink fast. Emergency vent, I think. The suit has a last-ditch method for heat spikes, rapid venting of superheated nitrogen along specific channels, dumping both heat and coolant. It is designed for cases where internal systems risk catastrophic failure. Using it here will keep the gel from reaching my joints, but it may leave me with nearly empty coolant reserves. I have a choice between being eaten or cooking dry later. The choice is simple. Emergency venting, I announce. Stand by. I stab the control on my wrist. Inside the suit, valves snap open. A roar fills my ears as nitrogen blasts out through narrow slits in the outer shell around my arms and chest. The gas flashes into the superheated haze, carrying heat with it. The gel matrix stiffens, then cracks. Chunks of it shatter away, falling toward the basin's bottom and splattering. Within seconds, the material on me cools enough to lose its grip. I shake my arm, sending brittle fragments tumbling. Coolant reserves drop by nearly half. "Contact neutralized," I report. "Pod is done. I'm not sacrificing suit integrity for it." "Agreed," Omar replies at once. There is a pause, then Beaumont cuts across the channel. "Noted," he murmurs. "Return, Jack. We will re-evaluate defensive formations inside the cavity. In future, avoid contact with mobile masses." "Glad to hear that," I answer. "I thought you might ask me to catch the next one in a jar." Back in the tunnel, men gather around me as I step over the red zone boundary. Luca's eyes are wide, though he tries to cover it with humor. "You keep coming back with new types of slime on you," he remarks. "They have to start paying you a biodiversity bonus." "I will take hazard pay and functioning coolant," I reply, lifting my arm so he can pry off the hardened residue. As he works, Jonah's hand lands on my shoulder. "We need to talk," he mutters, so low only my helmet mic picks it up. I follow him to a corner of control where the cameras are fewer and the noise from the consoles gives us some cover. Omar joins us there, shadows under his eyes. "You two planning to stage an intervention?" I ask. "Because I am still taking the suit out there as long as they tell me to." "This is bigger than your suit," Omar responds. He taps his tablet, showing a series of graphs. "I have been overlaying the timing of the extraction pulses with global seismic records. There have been minor events all over the planet during our cycles. Nothing huge yet, but the distribution is wrong. They are not natural releases. They match our work." "Meaning?" I lean in. "Meaning the thing in the mantle is not local. It has branches, roots, call them what you want, that reach far away from here. Every time we pull on its blood, we trigger a response that tugs on fault lines and shear zones. If we keep doing this, we are going to wake it up fully." "Wake up what?" Jonah asks. Omar blows out a breath. "The only model that fits is a planetary-scale organism, a body that formed when the Earth was young and never got displaced. It settled between rock layers and stayed there. Maybe asleep, maybe just slow. Whatever we call it, it is integrated with the crust." "That is crazy," Jonah murmurs, but the word lacks conviction. "Crazy does not mean wrong," Omar replies. "Strata knows. Look at this." He swipes to another document. It is a scan of an internal memo, stamped confidential, full of neat company language. There are phrases like global energy dominance and acceptable regional upheaval. There are maps with red dots at several points across the globe. "You are not the only dig," Omar explains. "They have 3 other sites in early stages, all at deep anomalies. We are just the first to hit an accessible cavity. They have run scenarios, Jack. They know this could trigger quakes, tsunamis, volcanic eruptions. They wrap it in probability language, but the line that matters is this one." His finger taps a sentence. "Projected socio-economic benefits outweigh localized tectonic disruptions within predetermined loss parameters." In plain words, Omar continues, if the money is big enough, they accept that entire regions might be destroyed. I stare at the text. Somewhere above us, on a clean floor with a view of clouds, someone typed that line into a report and went home feeling good about the quarterly projection. "What do you want me to do?" I ask. "We need to stop the extraction here," Omar answers. "At least here. And we need to get this data out to someone who can shut the project down everywhere else." "Stop it how?" Jonah demands. "We do not have a way to kill that thing, even if we wanted to." "We do not need to kill it," Omar replies. "We need to keep it from thrashing." He flips to another model. This one is a simulation of how the mantle structure responds to different patterns of input. Right now, the leeches pump in a steady rhythm. That constant irritation is triggering increasingly violent contractions. But when I fed in synthetic patterns, one in particular produced a different reaction. The whole structure curled inward and held. It is like a defensive reflex. It draws limbs toward the center. If we can trigger that in reality, we might push the organism into a compact state where its interactions with the crust are minimized. You want to make it curl up, I summarize. Yes, and then disconnect the leeches so Strata cannot keep jabbing at it. How? Jonah asks. Omar glances at me. We need someone inside the cavity with physical access to the nerve hub. That mound you saw, Jack. If we run a high-intensity current pattern through it, timed exactly, we might trigger the reflex. High-intensity how? I ask. Higher than anything your suit systems usually handle, Omar admits. But the mine has power lines big enough. We can route a path from the main bus, through a shunt, down to your position. Your suit is the only thing shielded enough to hold the anchors if the Ark tries to jump. So you want to plug me into the planet's nervous system? I roll my shoulder. This keeps getting better. You handle heat better than any man we have, Omar points out. Your suit is the only one that can survive near that hub. Without you, this is just math on a screen. So we trigger this reflex. The organism curls up, quakes settle. We cut the leeches and then what? Jonah asks. Beaumont wipes our access and sends in a new team. Strata rolls on. That is where we need your systems access. Omar turns to him. You can cut their remote override when the time comes. Lock them out long enough for Jack to do his part. And I can leak the data. This memo, the models, live telemetry during the event. Once it is outside, even Strata cannot bury it completely. We have uplink filters, Jonah warns. Everything we transmit routes through company servers. Not everything, Omar says. Maintenance channels have some latitude. Luca has been using one to stream old movies from topside. If he can use it for that, I can use it for this. We are talking treason, Jonah notes, but his hand has curled into a fist on the console edge. Company treason, anyway. I look from one to the other. I am a specialist, not a planner. My life has been a series of entries and exits, problems with concrete solutions. Retrieve that, cut this, patch that leak. This is bigger. But it still comes down to physical acts. Climbing into the cavity, hammering conductors into a living hub, throwing a switch. I can do those things. If we do nothing, I ask quietly, what happens? Omar does not flinch from the answer. They keep pumping. The organism keeps reacting. Quakes get worse, longer, more frequent. Eventually, large sections of the crust fail. Maybe not today. Maybe not this year. But it happens. And we were the ones who put the straw into the vein. I find myself thinking of the death line on my employment file. The line where someone will someday fill in how I died. Under cause, they might as well type routine extraction. I am in, I hear myself say. Tell me where to put the spikes. We work fast because we have to. Strata, in its thirst, helps us by creating the conditions we need. The more they pump, the more the organism reacts. Quakes ripple through the mine every few hours now. Men flinch at each rumble. Support crews race from one cracked tunnel to another, bolting new plates, shoring sagging ceilings. The casualty board fills with fresh names. Beaumont responds. He shuts off non-essential sections, abandons marginal galleries, concentrates personnel in zones that keep throughput high. He also brings in heavier security, men with sidearms stationed near control and critical power nodes. He knows someone might sabotage his prize. He just does not know who. Jonah works his piece from inside the system. As control chief, he has real access. He spends hours at the console, his fingers flicking across screens. To anyone watching, he looks like a man doing his job. But he reroutes power in tiny increments, redirecting capacity from one bus to another. He maps override channels, tests them under harmless pretexts. Luca helps without fully knowing the stakes. Under Omar's casual questions, he explains quirks in the maintenance network and the blind spots in security monitoring. He jokes that we are planning to stream better entertainment to the lower dorms. He is not entirely wrong. Omar refines the pattern. The reflex he discovered in the model is finicky. Too much current, and the response goes straight to uncontrolled flailing. Too little, and nothing happens. The timing has to line up with a naturally rising contraction, and the pattern must match what his simulation flagged as a curling impulse. He tries to explain the math to me once. I stop him. "Tell me what to do with my hands," I cut in. "Where to stand, what to connect, what to press." He nods. "You will carry two main conductors," he explains. "Thick rods, insulated except at the tips. You will drive those tips into the dense bundles at the base of the nerve hub. We will have pre-connected cables at the platform. Once you anchor the rods, we feed power down. Your suit will hold the rods steady against the surge. You will hold still for the duration of the surge." "And the creature will curl up," I reply, trying to imagine it, the mantle beneath us drawing inward like a hand into a fist. "That is the idea." "And if we misjudge?" "Then you die quickly," Jonah remarks, "and so do a lot of other people more slowly." I glance at him. His mouth twitches in something like a smile, but his eyes look as tired as I feel. "Comforting," I mutter. "When do we do it?" "We need cover," Omar answers. "A plausible reason to send you that deep, something Beaumont will sign off on." The Earth gives us that cover. 2 shifts later, a giant tremor hits the mine. It is not a collapse inside Inferno. It is a distant event that rolls through our rock like the rise and fall of a slow tide. Equipment rattles, hanging cables sway. Somewhere in an upper gallery, a stack of crates goes over with a crash. Control erupts in chatter. Global feeds light up with reports of a deep quake under a distant ocean trench. It is connected. The organism is flaring through its network. Beaumont watches. "Increase extraction," he orders. "If it is already active, we might as well capitalize before environmental regulations land." Omar looks like he wants to punch him. He does not. Instead, he shares a glance with Jonah. They both look at me. Now, that look says. I initiate the request myself. "Director," I address Beaumont in front of his console. "If we want better control, we need better data from the nerve hub. The last pod we lost was the closest we had. I can take a hardened one in, plant it past the new growths, give you a cleaner view." Beaumont considers. It is the kind of suggestion he likes, proactive, risk-bearing, in service of his goals. "What is the exposure window?" he asks. "We can expand coolant reserves for 1 cycle," Luca offers quickly. "I have been tuning Harper's suit. He can handle a longer stay if he does not waste time." "Power allocation." Beaumont turns to Jonah. "We can route enough for the suit and the leech cycle," Jonah answers smoothly. "We will have to cut some non-critical systems." "Make it happen," Beaumont orders. "Jack, you will carry a new pod. Plant it as far toward the hub as you can reach, avoiding any new structures. Record everything. If you see a pattern that suggests escalating activity, you will report immediately." Understood. There it is. His blessing on my entry. A mission that puts me exactly where we need me to be. We prepare in less than an hour. The rod conductors look almost like ordinary support struts, just thicker, with insulated grips. We mask them among other gear. The cables we will use to feed power ride under the main leech hoses, bundled with them so security does not ask why we are stringing new lines. In the suit bay, Luca checks my armor twice, fingers moving faster than usual. "You sure about this?" "You keep letting them push you deeper." "You keep feeding my cooling system," I answer. "I trust your work." He snorts. "You trust my work to fail gracefully when you blow it up, you mean? If it fails gracefully, I was wrong about something. And if you are wrong loudly, then you get to say you told me so to whoever is on the other side." He tightens the last clamp. "Come back," he mutters. "I will try." No promises. Not this time. The walk to the cavity feels like the longest of my life. My body knows these steps. It has taken them many times, but there is a weight behind them now that has nothing to do with the suit. Along the way, we pass men patching cracks, hauling rubble, cursing under their breath at a world that will not stay put. Angus Tamson, one of the oldest drillers in the mine, leans on a beam, knee brace squeaking. "You going in again, Frost?" He uses the nickname some of them gave me after my first big burn job. "Company asked nicely," I answer. "Kick that thing for me while you are there," he grunts. "It has been shaking my bunk." "I will put it on the list." At the platform, Jonah's voice joins me in the helmet, calm and clipped. "Power routing is ready. Your special lines are on standby. Once you plant the rods, cue me, and I will bring the feed online. Omar is on pattern." "Copy. Suit overrides are in my hands for now," he adds. "Beaumont will try to take them when things spike. I will keep him busy as long as I can." I step onto the grating. Behind me, a pair of riggers trundle the fake sensor pod along, its internal guts replaced by heavy cable splices. To anyone watching, it is just another piece of equipment. The cavity interior is worse than before. The pale surface bears new scars where leeches have drilled. Dark rings of altered tissue cluster around each mount like bruises. Spines have multiplied, some merging into ridges. The mobile masses have grown larger and move faster, drawn toward the leech sites. They shy away from my suit, skirting me, but they never stray far. The nerve hub at the far end swells and relaxes, its surface crossed by thick cords that converge on a central pit. It looks like the root of a tree that has grown inward rather than into the air. I head straight for it, moving faster than caution demands. We do not have much time before the organism reacts to this cycle of extraction, and the pattern Omar wants requires that we ride the rising wave. "Approaching hub," I report. "Structure's denser here. Heat higher than predicted." "Core temp?" Jonah prompts. I am within margin. My tolerance never gets the memo. I reach the base of the hub. Up close, the tissue changes again. It is not smooth anymore, it is ridged and knotted, like cables fused together. When I rest my hand on it, the suit translates a constant, subtle vibration into a sense of restless motion. It feels like standing on a chest full of lungs that take centuries to complete a breath. "Anchor points," Omar instructs. "Drive the rods into the thickest bundles on either side of your position. They must be embedded deep enough to make good contact. Use the suit's full force." I take the first rod from the riggers. They retreat, leaving me alone near the hub. The rod feels heavy even with the suit's assistance. Its tip is bare metal. I line it up against a knot of tissue, then trigger the suit's auxiliary jack. The rod thrusts forward, parting layers. The tissue flexes, resisting. For a moment it feels as if I am pushing into muscle that does not want to yield. Then it breaks. Not like something brittle, but like something that has finally torn. The rod sinks, leaving only a small length protruding. The hub around it contracts briefly, then relaxes. A murmur for a giant, a twitch around a splinter. "First rod in," I report. "Connect the cable," Omar urges. I snap the insulated connector onto the rod's head. The cable from the platform goes taut as it takes the load. Somewhere above, Jonah reroutes power down that line. "Second rod," Omar continues. I repeat the process on the opposite side. This time, the tissue fights harder. I dig in with the suit's legs, boots braced on ridges, and slam the rod inward in short, brutal strokes. Each thrust sends a shiver through the hub. Fluid oozes around the metal, then congeals. "Second rod anchored," I grunt. "Cable attached." "Excellent," Omar breathes. "Now position yourself between them. The path will run between the rods, forcing the current deep into the hub's core. The suit will shield you from the main arc, but you are going to feel the induction heat." "I have felt worse," I lie. The organism chooses that moment to remind me it has its own plans. A surge runs through the hub, stronger than any before. The ridges under my boots jump. The entire cavity compresses inward, every surface tightening. The platform behind me groans. One of the leech mounts tears free with a squeal. Its hose jerks, spraying more of that glowing, hungry fluid. "Spike!" Omar shouts. "This is the wave. We have to ride this one." "Jack!" Beaumont's voice cuts into the channel. What are you doing with those support struts? That is not in your mission profile. I do not answer. Jonah, he snaps. Lock Harper's suit. Pull him back. Override command rejected, Jonah replies. Routing authority remains in control. Reassign control to my console, Beaumont demands. Negative, Jonah answers. You signed the risk matrix. Local overrides stay with the shift chief. I imagine Beaumont turning toward him, eyes cold. You realize your career is finished, the director probably murmurs. There is a scuffle of motion in the control room feed. I hear a chair hit something, a grunt, then a sharp sound like flesh meeting flesh. Focus on the pattern, Omar barks. Jack, brace, we are starting the pulse. The hub under me flexes again. The timing could not be worse or better. Pain and plan meet. Do it, I growl. The first surge hits like a hammer made of lightning. The world turns white inside my helmet. Not light exactly, but a total invasion of sensation. Every nerve in my body reports a burn, though I know the suit is taking most of it. The outer shell blocks the direct arc between the rods, but induction heat still floods the space between metal and skin. My hands curl into fists. For a moment, I cannot tell up from down. The hub convulses around me. The contraction is different from the earlier ones. Instead of chaotic waves, everything pulls inward in one coherent motion. The tissue between the rods draws toward the center, compressing. The ridges under my boots rise, lifting me slightly. Far beyond the cavity, in the deep mantle, something massive shifts. Pattern holding, Omar shouts. Current stable. Do not move, Jack. As if I could. Through the haze of pain, I try to focus on readouts. Core temperature climbs toward thresholds. Coolant flow maxes out. Fluid in the leach hoses above us reverses briefly as the organism squeezes, then surges forward again when it relaxes slightly. Rock around the cavity groans. New cracks appear in the tunnel walls. Dust rains onto the platform in thick curtains. Outer galleries reporting collapses, a voice in control cries. We are losing supports on delta levels. Evac routes compromised. Keep your teams clear of Beta 9 access, Jonah orders. This zone is going to take the worst of it. The second pulse comes. This one feels less like a hammer, more like a sustained pressure pushing me backward, as if the whole world is leaning on my chest. My vision narrows. Heat alarms flash red, then go amber as coolant systems claw the numbers down. In front of me, the hub's inner core dimples, forming a deep pit. The rods vibrate, their buried tips grinding against something that should not have anything as simple as bone, but does. Pattern complete, Omar breathes. Shut down on my mark. 3, 2, 1. Cut. The current flow drops. The world slams back into its normal size, though normal now includes a cavity that is no longer breathing outward. The entire basin has drawn inward. Spines and ridges point toward the center. The mobile masses cluster near the hub, frozen for now. Response? I rasp. Global feeds show a simultaneous contraction in mantle anomalies, Omar reports, almost laughing. Quakes are dropping off. It worked. It actually worked. There is no time to enjoy that. The hub makes one last, shuddering motion, then relaxes completely. The rods stay in, but the tissue around them thickens, trying to isolate them. The strain that had been shaking the crust spreads out over a longer period, like a held tension finally released. We bought time. We did not buy safety. The mine has taken too much damage. The coherent contraction crushed support pillars, twisted rails, and collapsed entire galleries. Floods of rock pour into open spaces. Some swallow empty tunnels. Some swallow men. The platform under me tilts. One of its anchor points shears. The whole structure begins to slide toward the hub. Platform failure, I bark. I am going for the egress tunnel. I yank my hands free from the rods and turn, boots scrabbling on the moving grating. Behind me, the rods stand like crude spears, half swallowed by thickening flesh. Extraction line? Jonah demands. Gone, Someone answers in control, panic in his voice. Leach hoses severed. Fluid spill in main shaft. Coolant bays overloading. Seal off the shaft below level Gamma, Jonah orders. Divert coolant, and somebody get a cage ready for Harper and any survivors on Beta 9. I run. The platform's edge breaks behind me, dropping into the hub. The sound and motion combine into a single violent image. I jump the last gap onto the tunnel lip and nearly slip as the rock shifts. One boot slides, the other catches. I slam my gloved hand onto a support beam and haul myself forward. Spines rip out of the cavity floor as the organism's local defenses seize up. A few snag the back of my suit, scraping across armor. Readouts blink as outer plates register damage but hold. Ahead, the tunnel leading back to the red zone boundary heaves. A section of ceiling breaks loose and comes down, smashing into the floor. Dust and fragments billow. Through the haze, I see a familiar silhouette. Angus stands in the middle of the tunnel, one hand on a support, yelling at a smaller man to move. His other foot is trapped under a fallen beam. "Angus!" I call over the channel. "Hold still!" He looks toward me through the cloud. Even with my suit's external mics full of noise, I can make out his curse. "Took you long enough," he grunts. "My leg is done. Get Luca past me." He has tools we need topside. Past him, Luca struggles with a pack and a drag sled that holds a half-conscious miner. Rubble litters the tunnel between them and the boundary. I take one step toward Angus. Rock shifts overhead. A crack races across the ceiling. Another slab breaks loose, smashing down behind me, sealing more of the platform entrance. The tunnel is closing around us, segment by segment. "You cannot dig him out," Jonah warns in my ear, voice hard now. "There is not enough time. If you stay, you all die here. Cage is on its way to Alpha 7. You have to reach it." "I can brace the beam," I argue. "Suit can take it." "For how long?" Omar puts in. "Seconds. You saw what the hub did to your coolant. You are on reserves already." Angus looks between me and the drag sled. "Do not do it, Frost," he rasps. "You turn this into a noble last stand and it will not save anyone. Get the kid and the cart moving. That is your job now." His eyes are steady. Years underground have stripped away everything but stubbornness and a certain cruel clarity. I hate him for making sense. I step over to the beam. One hand on the metal, I test its weight. It is too much. Even with the suit's strength, I am at the edge of what I can lift. I can raise it for a moment. Not enough for Angus to drag himself out, not with that wrecked leg. I know it. He knows it. "Do it," he orders, and for a second he is every shift boss I have ever had, every man who sent me into fire. "You want to honor me, you live and make this hurt the ones who did it." I brace, lift. The beam comes up a fraction of its length. Angus's face twists as pressure shifts on his leg. He grunts, then shoves the drag sled with both hands, sending it sliding toward me. Luca stumbles, grabs the sled's handle and pulls, face white. "Run," Angus snarls. "I am not going anywhere." Luca does not argue. He backs away, dragging the sled, eyes locked on me. I let the beam go. The sound it makes when it slams back down is terrible and final. Angus's shout cuts off in the same instant. I do not let myself dwell on what happens under that metal. There is no time to mourn. I turn and push the sled, suit servos whining with the effort, forcing us up the tilting tunnel. Behind us, the cavity that holds the hub tightens once more, then slowly settles. The organism is curling in on itself deep beneath, but its local movements still shake the gallery. We reach the red zone boundary in less time than I thought possible. Men wait there with improvised stretchers and wide eyes. They grab the sled, pull the injured miner clear. "Cage?" I pant. "On its way," someone answers, glancing at the overhead indicator. "We lost the next level down, so this is your only lift." "You keep it here until I am on it," I growl. They do. I stumble onto the cage with a half-dozen others. The gate slams shut. The lift jolts, then starts upward through a shaft that has become a throat of shifting rock. Twice on the way up, the cage stops while crews clear rubble from the rails. Once the whole assembly sways as another quake ripples by. The men around me mutter prayers, curses, promises. I stand with my back braced, suit locked, imagining what it will look like if the shaft collapses and we fall. We reach the surface, landing in a rush of stale air and relief I do not have the luxury to enjoy. Control is a battlefield. Consoles flash warnings, voices overlap. Security men cluster near Beaumont, who stands in the center of the room, jacket off, sleeves rolled up, face flushed. He turns when he sees me escorted in by two medtechs. "You went beyond your assignment," he observes. "You altered critical support structures. You accessed power channels you had no authorization to touch." "You woke a world eater," I answer. "I just tried to get it to roll over instead of stand up." He steps closer, eyes narrow. "Do you have any idea what you have done?" "Yes," I reply. "I have given us time, and I have given the people above us proof of what you were doing." He stiffens. "What proof?" Omar appears on the far side of the room. His shirt is torn, and a bruise is forming on his cheek. Jonah limps behind him, one arm held against his ribs. From the way security watches them, I know they have already been in some kind of struggle. "We routed live telemetry through maintenance channels," Omar informs Beaumont calmly. "Sensor feeds, power logs, your own approval memos. It is already off-site. You cannot pull it back." "You think regulators can touch Strata?" Beaumont sneers. "We own more of them than you realize." "Maybe," Jonah grants, "but there are other eyes, and you do not own all of them." I catch the small, satisfied tilt at the corner of his mouth. For a man who spends his life in control rooms, he has found a way to fight that uses his only weapons, data and access. Beaumont breathes in once, then straightens, composure sliding back into place. "None of this matters if you are dead," he concludes. "You threw an untested current pattern through a structure we barely understand. You may have triggered worse responses elsewhere. You may have simply delayed the inevitable." "Maybe," I concede. In my visor, I can still see the models Omar showed me, the way the simulated mantle structure curled inward under the pulse. Out there in the real mantle, miles under our feet, something immense has just done the same. Maybe it will uncurl someday. Maybe we have only changed the schedule. "Either way," I continue, "you will not be the only one deciding what happens now." He studies me. There is something like respect in his eyes mixed with a colder appraisal. "You realize I can have you all charged with sabotage," he remarks. "You can try," Jonah answers. Luca appears at the edge of the crowd, grease on his hands, eyes wide as he takes in the exchange. He looks from me to Beaumont and back. He does not understand all the layers here yet, but he knows enough to sense a shift. An alarm chimes on one of the global feeds. Omar glances up, checks it, then gives a sharp nod. "Look," he tells the room. On the main screen, global seismic monitors display a world map. Numerous small blips dot it, each representing a quake. For the past days they have been frequent and uneven, a nervous scatter. Now, their number drops in real time. The remaining events cluster in a shrinking band, as if something beneath the crust is drawing its limbs in. "Global energy release is down," Omar reports. "Far down. The organism is curling into a compact state. The immediate danger has passed." "For now," Beaumont repeats. "For now," Omar agrees. Security moves in then, at Beaumont's signal, and we are escorted to holding rooms pending inquiries. It is almost a relief. My body is starting to understand how much it has been through. When they finally pry me out of the suit, the air against my skin feels thin and unreal. My muscles shake. My hands do too, though I keep them flat on my thighs to hide it. A medic scans me with a handheld unit. "You have nerve flare from current exposure," he mutters. "You will see after images for a while. You are lucky you did not fry yourself." "Luck," I reply. "That must be it." They leave me in a small room with a metal bench and a camera in the corner. No window. I stare at the scuffed floor and think about Angus under that beam. I think about the men who did not make it to the cage. I think about the vast thing below us, now curled tighter, perhaps, but still alive. At some point, exhaustion drags me under. When I wake, the door is open. Jonah stands there, leaning on the frame. His ribs are wrapped under a clean shirt. He has a tablet in hand. "Your charges?" I ask. "Under review," he answers. In the meantime, Strata has bigger fires. The board is scrambling. The data we put out hit more than regulators. It hit independent observatories, research institutes, a few news channels that still do their own work. "Good," I answer. "Let them chew on it." He steps aside. Omar appears behind him. "Global quake activity remains low," Omar reports. "The mantle anomaly signatures are in a compact phase. We cannot be sure how long it will last, but for now, the worst has been postponed." "For now," I repeat. "Director Beaumont?" I ask. "Relieved of his site duties. Temporarily, officially. Unofficially, he is on a fast shuttle to somewhere the board can talk to him without mics." "And us?" "We are useful. Too useful to disappear immediately. Strata needs experts who understand what just happened. And they cannot make you vanish without raising questions from the people who have your story. So we live," I conclude, "at least until the next contract." Jonah snorts. "You really think you will sign another one?" I look down at my hands. They still tremble slightly, but they are mine. No cables in my skin, no metal in my bones. I walked into the planet's eye and out again. Still human. "I am done being a tool someone else swings," I answer. "If I go back down there, it is not going to be on their terms." "You think anyone will let you near that cavity again?" Omar wonders. "I hope not." I rub my face. "But we might have to deal with what we woke someday, or what we stopped from fully waking. Either way, it would be good to have men involved who remember the truth." We step out of the holding room together. The corridors of Inferno feel different now. Some sections are sealed, doors welded, others are crowded with crews packing equipment for shipment. The company is scaling back operations under the guise of safety reviews. The men smell what that really means. The golden vein has turned out to be attached to something that bites. No one has told them the full story. Rumors in the mess drift between jokes about a giant snake and stories of an ancient machine. No one says world heart out loud, but the phrase sits in my mind. Root heart, I think. A thing that rooted itself in the mantle when the earth was still young and never left. Up in the surface compound, the sky looks washed out after months under rock. I stand on a platform and watch clouds drift. The ground under my boots feels steady, but every now and then a faint vibration runs through it, subtle enough that most men would miss it. I do not. I know what lies underfoot now. Not just magma and rock, but living structure. A creature whose blood we dared to tap, whose nerves we hijacked to make it curl away from us. It will move again someday. Maybe long after I am gone. Maybe sooner. Humanity will press outward, searching for energy, for advantage, and someone will argue that the risk is worth it. Maybe they will be right. Maybe not. What I know is this. Once, in the deepest mine ever carved, one man in a heavy, freezing suit stood at the edge of an enormous eye and chose to hurt it in a controlled way, rather than let others flay it mindlessly. He did not win. That is too grand a word. He nudged, redirected, bought time. And he survived. When I finally head back inside, Luca meets me outside the suit bay, a coil of cable over his shoulder. "They are shipping half the gear out," he tells me. "Word is we are going into standby. You think they will shut this place down?" "For a while," I answer. "Until someone upstairs thinks they have a better plan." "You going to stick around?" "I have nowhere else to be." He nods, then studies my face. "You look different," he observes. "I climbed into a living fault and let it try to kill me. That will do things to a man's skin." He grins weakly. "Makes for a good story, though. I would listen to that." "You just did," I remind him. He laughs once, then heads back to his work. I walk past the suit that kept me alive. It rests in its cradle, plates scorched, pipes stained, sensors patched with tape. A tech moves around it, checking for leaks. The heavy cables that once tied it into Strata's system are unplugged, coils piled nearby. For the first time since I came to Inferno, I look at it not as an inevitability, but as a choice. I lay my hand on its chest plate. I will let you rest. We both earned it. There will be other jobs, other mines, other companies. There may even be other creatures buried where no one expects them. The world is old and full of surprises, but for now the root heart curls in the dark, nursing its wounds.